It's news time. Information is power. The current. The news headline. Release negotiates with Nnamdi Kanu like Mandela, Gandhi. Martin Luther, lawyer, tells federal government. Aloy Ejiamako, the council for the arrested leader of proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, has encouraged the government to be open to negotiations, making an example of the agitators who were arrested and released after negotiations with government. Ejiamako said Nelson Mandela of South Africa, Gandhi of India, and Martin Luther King of the United States, US, were released before the governments of their countries negotiated with them. He also said in a tweet that it is not unnatural to negotiate with Kanu when he is still in detention. When a man is in detention and you wish to negotiate with him, the first step you take is to stop resisting every effort being made to release him from detention. It is right that when a state forcibly takes a fugitive suspect from a country to its territory, that is from a foreign country to its territory, without giving the person the benefit of the extradition process, it amounts to an act of extraordinary rendition that, without more, triggers insurmountable legal barriers to prosecution. Under applicable laws, a renditioned fugitive is entitled to a body of remedies known as collectively reparations, which includes restitution, compensation, rehabilitation, satisfaction, and guarantees of reputation. One such law provides that restitution should restore the victim to the original situation before the gross violation of international human rights law. Restitution includes restoration of liberty and return to one's place of residence. In many nations, extraordinary rendition has been held by the courts to be a legal barrier to prosecution. I will give one example with the United Kingdom, where the House of Lords, in such a case that where a defendant in a criminal matter had been brought back to the United Kingdom in disregard of available extradition process and in breach of international law and laws of the state where the defendant had been found, the court in the United Kingdom should take cognizance of those circumstances and refuse to try the defendant. I know that Kanu's case is unique, novel, and presents matter of first impression. Yet, it presents a golden opportunity for Nigerian courts to determine whether it is lawful for the Nigerian state to make an extrajudicial attempt on his life in 2017 and, having failed, to then pursue him to Kenya and then abduct him to Nigeria without due process of law, all because he is engaged in self-determination, which is a protected political opinion, but one which the government of the day is seeking to suppress by means of punishment or some sort. If what they did to Kanu is legal, why did they resort to the extradition processes of Benin Republic, and why is America equally applying to extradite Abba Kyari instead of simply levying extraordinary rendition on him? That is the crux of the matter. And he was asked again that do you see his non-production in court by the DSS in recent legal appearances as a vindication of your statement or prophecy, as it were? He replied, "Let me put it this way. Democratic Nigeria has never had a successful treason trial. Since 1960, democratic Nigeria has had many treason trials without any, except for that of Obafemi Awolowo, netting a conviction of or even coming close. No other person has ever been convicted of treason or its garden varieties like treasonable felony or sedition throughout all the democratic dispensations in Nigeria. Even when that of Awolowo resulted in conviction, it immediately brought many issues that still dog Nigeria to this day. Plus, Awo's conviction most probably would not have happened had he not overconfidently opted for summary trial when he could have tarried a while. What is more, his trial was later found to have been tainted with profound judicial bias, and in quick time his conviction and sentence were commuted. Most remarkably, his conviction convulsed Nigeria to no end, especially Western Nigeria, and it ultimately contributed to the 1966 coups that directly led to the Civil War and its horrendous aftermath. The lessons from this are not hard to see, and they are: first, treason is a regime-specific political offense. So, unless the trial is dubiously concluded during the life of the extant regime, it sunsets with the coming of a new regime. Second, treason trial, if pushed too aggressively, can bring more problems than it initially set out to contain. In some climes, it led to overthrow of the very government in power, such as in the case of Jerry Rawlings, who went from being in jail for treason to overthrowing the government that jailed him. So, Nigeria needs to tread with caution, and a keen reference to history as it ramps up on this overly aggressive treason trial of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. When an alpha patriot like Kanu gets so upset with the system that he begins to seek solutions in separation or self-determination, you talk to him, you don't subject him to trials and tribulations. Simple. And these were the words of the lawyer, and he was asked the very last time, after he had said that, the question was that at a particular point in time, he said they cannot try Kanu in court, a court in Nigeria, and why was it so? And he was just trying to explain that was true because he was actually extradited from Kenya unlawfully, because they were not supposed to bring him from Kenya without following due process. And for that reason, any other prosecution that they had against him, because he had jumped bail, and not that he jumped bail, they actually went to his house to invade his house and attempted to kill him. That was extrajudicial. And with respect to this, he had to flee out of the country. And for them to bring him back to Nigeria, it has to follow due process. And for the fact that he didn't do that, then on a normal time, like on a normal basis, they were not supposed to charge him. And for some reasons that is sub judice, as I said, he had to file a case in the court in Abuja, which is still pending. And they were like, he was also asked if he sees his legal appearances as something that will vindicate him, just like the earlier statement that he has made. And he said that truly any treason in the democracy system is always inconclusive. He said, except for the case of Obafemi Awolowo, which was actually having some instances like it was not even supposed to be concluded, but because he was actually too overconfident that he asked for a summary trial, which actually made everything quite fast, that made him convicted. If not, it wouldn't have actually occurred. That when it comes to treason, one has to be very, very careful, citing the case of Jerry Rawlings, who at a particular point in time, Jerry Rawlings was being jailed for treason, and at the time he was freed, and he later became the president. So looking at history, it is better to seek solutions in separation or self-determination cases rather than subjecting people to trials and tribulation, especially in the case of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Thanks for listening.